All right, welcome back. So it's hard to believe that an entire year has gone by since I've started my one camera, one lens project. And using this bad boy, the Panasonic G85 with the Sigma 16 mil 1.4 prime lens. And when I started this, my idea was I was going to pick something that I could pretty much use on all occasions. Didn't necessarily want a zoom lens because I really wanted a fast prime lens only because this is a micro four thirds sensor. The low light capability isn't as great as maybe a larger sensor like an APS-C or full frame. So therefore I wanted a faster lens. You get that with your primes generally. No desire to use an adapter. So I didn't want to get like a speed booster and add the Sigma 18 to 35. So I think this was the right choice. Overall, 99% of the stuff that I did, I think it worked fine. There were times where I was filming where I kind of wished I had like a B camera, or I could have zoomed in further or punched in further, depending on what it was. Being able to zoom with your feet when you have a physical constraint with, or zoom out really. So if I wanted to step back, if I'm in a place where there's like a wall or something, I can only go back so far. So yeah, there's limitations like that, but for the most part, being that this is the 32 millimeter equivalent, I was really able to do a lot of stuff. A lot of street photography, a lot of, actually a lot of military events, a lot of video, a lot of my YouTube stuff, all of it, of course, was shot on this. And yeah, it was really fun. Very capable camera. The G85, I can't say enough about it. Granted, I had it prior to starting the project, so I've had it for quite some time. One of my favorite cameras by far. But it performed flawlessly. Never had a problem with this system. Never had a problem with this lens. I even played around with autofocus on it, but that didn't go so well. Granted, it's def from defocus. The Panasonic system generally doesn't have rave reviews for video autofocus continuous. So I have used it for actually I've used tap to focus, and that actually works fine in stills. But as far as the video is concerned, I couldn't get really any usable footage. So yeah, I just pretty much I played around with the settings, tried to tweak it, but I gave up on it. Other than that, yeah, everything works perfectly. In addition to this camera, of course, I used a lot of accessories. I used the battery grip, which I actually bought this when the project was ongoing. I should have bought this back when I got the camera, because this thing is awesome. It's not the Panasonic grip, it's the newer version, which is only like 44 bucks. And you get that extra battery in here. So you get more battery run life is what I should say. And then once you attach it to the camera, you have an extra grip. So if you actually need to turn the camera to portrait, now your trigger is actually in the right spot. All the buttons that are on here, they work perfectly. This thing is awesome. In addition to that, my small rig cage, which I did have prior to starting the experiment, this thing gets so much use, it's ridiculous. Pretty much every camera I have and will always have a small rig cage. These things are phenomenal. The idea that you can just attach whatever to it, it bears the weight really well. I don't worry about my gigantic monitor, which I have over there, tipping over, falling off when I'm moving around doing stuff. When I want to be smooth and I want to actually use, my 5-axis stabilization in concert with just holding the camera as steady as possible as I pan. There's no problems with this. There's no wiggle. As long as you torque things down like you're supposed to, I mean, it just performs. So I highly recommend this as well. In addition to that, of course, my Rode mic. So I got my wireless mic here. I use the Micro as well. Both of those, to me, with that setup, you really don't need much else, especially if you're just looking at doing like YouTube stuff. But I think just your average photographer, videographer would be fine, to be honest with you. I'm looking over at my shelf just to see if I left anything out. I don't think so. Most of the stuff I reviewed on my channel anyway. So needless to say, it's been a great year. Learned a lot about the camera. Going forward, I will always have Micro Four Thirds. I'll just say that it has some advantages that I just don't think you get with other camera bodies. One of those advantages I actually missed, and that's the idea that because of the crop factor, you can extend the reach of the lens. So the way to look at it is, if let's say this was 100, I had a 150 millimeter lens, which for Micro Four Thirds, they're not that gigantic. That's like a 300 millimeter equivalent. And being able to not only carry something that's really not that large around all day, and then being able to use it without using a tripod is just amazing. So I'm looking forward to, at the very least, picking up something like that, because I did miss that reach because there's certain, instances where I just could only get so close. Wildlife, for instance, and when I was actually shooting sports, I had that same problem. When I did shoot sports, I shot some basketball and volleyball, and thankfully they were kind enough to let me beat out on the court. So this actually worked out fine. And even for the folks that were on the far side of the court, as long as they were sharp, when I shot them, I could just crop in, so it still worked out. But there were other instances where, I'm actually outside, and, there's maybe something I'm trying to shoot that's on the other side of like a valley, and I can't walk because the valley's right there, or there's like a gorge or a crevice or something. So to be able to just punch in and take a shot and it's still not shaky is something I'm looking forward to. So yeah, I'm definitely probably going to pick up another lens for this just because I want something I can do that and just have. And then the other part of this is I want something. I'm learning more about like what I want for video, and I actually think I want really good autofocus. And what you'll probably notice, because I'm holding this camera, I'm not filming on it. So I actually have another camera that I'm filming on. My upcoming video, I will talk to you about kind of my rationale, and then actually share with you what that actual camera is. If you got any questions about this experiment, feel free to leave them down below. Also, if you have any questions about the G85 or any of the accessories, leave that down below as well. And I think that's about it. So, Agent Fitz signing out.